so she might have a point. But anyway, we do have a wonderful panel this morning. I'm looking forward to the discussion. The title for our panel today is, well, this is a big one, Creators, Culture, and Customers, the Intersection of Online Influence and Your Tee Sheet. And please welcome to the stage our wonderful panel. I'm going to introduce just Bobby Barrett, PGA, who's Director of Club Operations at the Quail Club, Quail Golf Club, and he's going to introduce the panel. So we look forward to your discussion today. Thank you all.
Thanks, Charlie. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Well, that was weak. We're going to have a good time. Good morning. Good morning. There we go. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. As Charlie said, it's going to be a really good discussion. Golf is at a very exciting time. And this is a very relevant conversation in golf. I've had the privilege of working closely with some very cool content creators just in the last 5 years. Perez and I have had the privilege of working with the Bob Sports crew at my club. I've had the privilege of working with the Barstool Sports crew. The content that gets generated can just change the landscape of your business. And it may not just be the tee sheet, but I can tell you that the tee sheet happens very quickly. So real quick, I think introductions are important, and I wanted to have a little fun with it. So one particularly is more fun than the other. So today we have an absolutely stacked panel. We're joined by Gaylord Schaap. Gaylord's the owner and general manager of Northwood Golf Club. That's a 9-hole Alistair McKenzie golf course in Northern California, and it has quite a bit of a cult following, right? And Gaylord has an interesting perspective of both an owner, but he also is a very successful operator. So he's going to help us today unpack what you all can do with folks like these in the content generation world. We also have Abby Liebenthal. Abby's the head of marketing for Friday Golf and the president of For the Ladies, and they're leading the charge in both aspects of marketing and golf experiences. We also have my friend Patrick Koenig here. Patrick is a visionary. He's a great golf course photographer. If you haven't seen his stuff on RGV Tour, you need to go look it up. How many rounds of golf did you play last year, Patrick?
580 golf courses, which at the time was a world record. I've been informed that the gentleman from the UK has broken that record. But I played 580 golf courses across the United States, Finland and Sweden in 2023. A fantastic time.
Traveling in an RV.
Traveling in an RV, sleeping in a lot of Walmart parking lots, fun stuff like that. But every day was a new golf course, or sometimes 2, 3, or there was one day there was 4. So that was a fantastic year around the sun.
That's awesome. And rounding out the powerhouse of this panel, we were supposed to have Eric Anders Lang, and I got a text message yesterday about 11 o'clock. I'm sitting in this discussion, and it's Eric saying, I got strep throat and I can't come. And I went, oh, crap. So I picked up the phone and I called Perez and I said, I'm in a really bad spot. I could really use your help. And he was very gracious enough to join us. He's a breakout star of Bob Sports. He's not really a breakout star anymore. He's just more of a star, if you ask me. But his unique blend of humor and relatability is really what's going to capture your target audience. It sure did capture ours. And what they do over at Bob Sports is impactful, and it's also very funny. So if you haven't seen it, I suggest you look at it. The session itself it's more than just likes and views, right? It's about how you guys can create content and how you can take that content and apply it to your marketing plan and then turn that impression into actionable viewership and retainability on your tee sheet. So it is really, really cool what you see. And there's 3 or 4 different ways that we're going to talk about how you can do that today. So we're going to get started. If at any point, we're not a really big room, so if anybody has a question at any point, we will have a Q&A session at the end, but if somebody says something that makes you go, I got to ask a question, just please raise your hand. We'll take the question in real time, and we'll keep going. So I'm going to start with Abby. Abby, how do you evaluate creator or talent brand fit, right, when it comes to experiential events to both engage the brand audience that Fried Egg and For the Ladies is trying to achieve, but also work with the golf course to ensure that they're getting something out of it as well?
Yeah, I'll speak to the Fried Egg first. So with Fried Egg Golf, we really started and we're really rooted in being authentic about golf course architecture and how does the experience at a golf course and the architecture really enrich your experience in playing golf in general. So for us, we host about 40 events a year. They can range from like a 48 player field to a 104 player field. And the way we really choose it is just like, does that course have a really cool story to tell? Maybe from their founding and their origination, maybe they're like a really old Donald Ross that's like coming back up, or they've done a really good restoration, and we want to share that place with other people. It can be public, can be private, doesn't matter. So that's really how we start that, but a lot of the time we receive inbound requests of clubs that just want us to come, and whether it's to create content or host an event. And when we host an event, we obviously create content to encourage people to like learn more about that golf course. So everything is very like cyclical. We create content because we want people to be excited about attending an event, and then we're creating content during the event to show people how much fun this place is. And then on the For the Ladies side, it's really all about like what golf courses are going to be welcoming and excited to host a group of female golfers. And maybe that's with golf lessons and group golf lessons, or it's a trip. You know, this year we're going to Arcadia Bluffs in northern Michigan because we wanted to go to Arcadia Bluffs, and we're going to do a few days there. And I think that it's really about content created to get people excited about a place, and like for us selfishly about our events, but then also to get people excited about like, oh, this is a really cool place that the Fried Egg went to. They have validity. I should go check it out later.
And I have to imagine there's a little bit of revenue involved for the golf course when these events happen.
Yes, they're not just giving us the course for the day. We are paying for F&B and for the tee times, of course. Getting the full day off their schedule. We know like you lose revenue when you don't have the general public out there. So, and the same goes for the Ladies. Like every event, participants pay to play. So
Right, that's awesome. So I'm going to switch over to Gaylord real quick, because Gaylord has engaged with Random Golf Club, Eric Anders Lang. He's done several different content pieces and more of a digital partnership, if you will. You know, so Gaylord, and those experiences and going through the evolution of, you know, I've seen 2 or 3 videos of your golf course with Eric. I saw you featured in a Friday piece recently. What are you looking at when you're considering having these content creators come to your facility? What are you trying to get out of it, and how are you measuring how the success goes?
Well, we started out, I was pretty naive about content creators, what they did, who they were. They approached me. Backing up, you know, we did what they call a SWOT analysis of our golf course, and you know, we tried to analyze the weaknesses we had and what we could do to counteract those. So we're in the redwoods. Redwoods, no sunlight, not every fairway is lush. On the positive side, Alistair McKenzie, 9-hole golf course in the redwoods. So we tried to create a balance of information that would offset the negatives that we knew people would see there. And then we were able to get enough notoriety, I suppose, so that these content creators would call me up. And like I said, it was pretty naive. I didn't know who Eric Anders Lang was when he called. In fact, he didn't call, one of his people called. And I said, who is Eric? And he said, you'll find out. So his thing was, he wanted to do the daily life in an average golf course operator video. So he wanted to show me opening up the shop. He wanted to show me pulling out the cards and the whole thing. And when he got there, he realized, hey, there's a bigger story here. We're going to kind of change the format. And so it became a family situation, father, son, love of the land, stewardship. So we emphasized those kinds of things that put our course, I thought, in a very positive light in our marketplace. And so I think that's important for you when you're creating content, because you need to really take a long, hard look at what you have, your property, what are its assets, what are its strengths, what are its weaknesses, and try to create a story. The story has to be real. But in this case, it came out really well, and it really helped our business. And I don't know, do you want to come back to this?
Yeah, we're going to touch on it a couple times.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead? You can go on to the next one.
So, you know, kind of tying it all together, FP, you know, I'm sure, I have to imagine, you guys probably have thousands of people reaching out saying, come play our golf course, right? And I know as a PGA golf professional, I'll get 20 requests in a month for people to come play the golf course. And it's way easier for me to manage 20 requests than it is thousands, right? But how are you guys looking at that and going, what's content worthy? What's going to match best for us to do a donut challenge or a speed golf challenge? I mean, you guys do some pretty fun things. And for those of you in the room, if you're concerned with what content creators are going to do in your golf course, I can tell you right now firsthand, it's nothing but good. If you have a brand that you're trying to sustain that, you know, maybe a donut eating challenge doesn't sound like something that you want your golf course name on, I can promise you all press is good press. In this case, you know, these guys come out and they do a fantastic job of not just, you know, creating their content and representing their brand, but they represent your brand in a really nice way. And I can tell you, I've had, you know, 65-year-old members at my club come up to me and say, that was amazing. That was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Because the way that they show the golf course from a playability and puristic perspective is top notch, and then they're just creating funny content for their brand. So how do you guys kind of analyze which golf courses you want to go play and make the right fit for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I remember the early days when we were just begging golf courses to have us out and trying to explain what we were doing without really a whole lot of historical data to show them. And when you bring up donuts and eating and drinking in some cases, there's a lot of skepticism, a lot of no's. But yeah, it's we're in a good spot now that our channel has got some momentum. And yeah, we definitely field a lot of requests from either public facilities, resorts, I mean, a private club here and there. I don't think we ever really judge a private facility, whether or not they want to have us. I'm sure we have an impact on, you know, a young membership drive, but certainly for public facilities and resorts, you know, we're hoping for, at this point, you know, 1 million views video at minimum. So that's 1 million eyeballs that are going to be on your resort, your golf course, your facilities. And we try very hard to tread lightly, work with the courses and resorts about what their goals are. What are they trying to showcase? Do they have some sort of stay and play package that they want to highlight? You know, are there certain golf holes that they really want us to talk up? Obviously, we, you know, thank them in the beginning and the end and have them in the caption, the website, and all those things. So, you know, we appreciate the willingness to have us out and let us do our thing. We try to tread very lightly. But yeah, as far as where to go, I mean, I think the places that make it the easiest for us, we have got a lot to manage, and for the courses that just sort of take care of everything from start to finish, makes our job and life a lot easier. And obviously, you know, we can realize pretty quickly in a conversation how much we're going to enjoy our time with certain people. So those are all things that we have to weigh. But, you know, we still in the back of our mind are happy to have anyone have us out and do what we do.
I mean, you were an accountant 5 years ago. Right?
This is a lot better.
Now you play golf full time, right?
It's a wild world, man. We're very thankful for what we do. We're very thankful for the places that have us, and we always want to leave. We want to leave everything better than the way we found it. We always want to show golf courses and facilities in the best possible light. We don't want to catch anyone with their pants down or anything like that. That doesn't do us any benefit. And we made it sure, you know, I think about like the travel vlog space where there's these influencers that kind of go around the world in the country to different resorts, and they make a living off of these places to kind of highlight their, you know, their property and what it is. We made a choice a long time ago that we weren't going to, you know, have our hand out looking for compensation to come out, even though, you know, you put 1 million eyeballs on a facility, there's some real value there. Yeah. We have our other revenue streams, and we want to, you know, golf has given us a lot, everything. So we want to, you know, that's a choice we made, and we want to do our part for the game.
Yeah, and that's great. I think one thing that, you know, you all should keep in mind is that, you know, FP said it best. They are still stewards of. We're all stewards of the game, and they try to be stewards of the game. They're just doing it in a different way, right? And so they have their brand and their business that they're running. You know, I actually didn't know this. I thought by this point you guys were charging to go to places. I'm happy to hear that you're not. That's amazing. Because there are so many influencers out there that their business model is to make money as they're going to represent your brand in turn for you to make money in the end. So that's a really great thing, and now I understand why you are, having so many inquiries versus some people are probably turning away. You have something to
I
add?
just have one thing to add. I think also like you guys will go to a place, it gets 1 million views. You also shouldn't underestimate like the long-term return on investment of having you guys come out because, say somebody's going on a trip to a place that you guys have been and it's 5 years after the videos come out, like they're gonna come across your video. And that's what I feel like we see a lot with at Friday Golf is like, we just did a guide to San Francisco. Yeah, it came out this year, it got so many thousands of views. But if I'm going on a trip to San Francisco in 3 years, like I'm gonna go back to that YouTube video and watch the content.
There's a funny clip. So Bob Does Sports played against Barstool Sports in their first 4-man scramble at my club, and they had a good night the night before. And there's a clip of Perez laying down on the 3rd fairway, just looking up at the sky. About 6 months after that video came up, I had a guy walk in the golf shop and ask me, "Where was Fat Perez laying down on the ground?" and I thought for a moment to just go put a plaque in the 3rd fairway. Fat Perez was once here.
Please don't do that.
But you're 100% right. I mean, we look at any opportunity at Quail to take what we've done in the past and leverage that for the future. And I think most content creators are open to that because as we're leveraging it for our brand, we're still leveraging your brand in the end, right? Which is a great thing. PK, yours is a little different, right? I mean, you had this viral RGV tour. We met 2000s, what was the first one, 2017?
2018, yeah.
18. He just rolls up to this golf course in a giant RV, pulls up to the bag drop, and I'm thinking to myself, there's no valet, what is he doing? And these 4 guys come out of the RV. Fast forward, you've done that twice now. I mean, now you're a golf course photographer, right? So, I think you have a unique perspective because everybody here can hire you to come do golf course photography.
Sure, please do.
And in the end, you actually create content as you're doing it.
Yeah, my package or my offering is a little bit different than the video pieces that we're talking about here. It includes aspects of that, but as a golf course photographer, there's maybe a dozen of us that do it full time, and I've got a little spin on that. So yes, I'm for hire to come out and take pictures of golf courses. What I do for a living. It's when people ask me what I do, they say I'm a golf course photographer. But then I amassed a social following from things like this recreational golf vehicle tour, which is what RGV stands for, 2 of them. And so my package includes not only the photography that a lot of resorts pay good money for, but I kind of beef that offering up with social media, blog posts, lists, and things like that. I've had a couple things where I list courses that I photographed on the guide to golf in Palm Springs, which if you Google that, it comes up. And the value of having my photography kind of pop up in there is helpful to clients. So it's blog writing, it's social media, and it's photography. And I specifically tailor it to whatever they're looking for. So maybe you're just looking for the social aspect of things. I'm a one-man show, so I don't show up with a crew. It really does a great job it's a great place to showcase my photography and golf courses. And there's been a ton of places and people that have mentioned my photography over the years. So
I think one of the biggest benefits that anyone can get hiring you for photography is because you're such a golfer, you've played so much golf, you work within the golf course so easily that if you roll up on a group, I'm sure you're going to navigate that no problem and still capture the content like there's nobody out there. And I think the one thing I'm really curious about is how do you decide where you kind of intersect the lines of you're there to shoot photography and create a product for this golf course, but at the same time create content and kind of maintain your brand.
Yeah, my thing with it is that I'm there to have fun and to explore, and what that happens, a lot of organic content comes from that. When you mentioned it, all press is good press. A story popped in my head. Doing a visit to Quail Golf Club in Mexico. Many of you probably have seen pictures of this. Hopefully it's some of my pictures. But during that shoot, we're out there just having fun, kind of creating some stuff for the community. We're just looking to post stuff to Instagram stories. But we found a watermelon that was growing on kind of like off the cart path. And as soon as I saw the watermelon, I knew what I had to do. I think it was the 10th hole is a long curling par 5. Some of you probably played it, down towards the ocean, beautiful view. But I said, I'm gonna bowl this watermelon down the 10th fairway and see how far it goes. I maybe expected 100 yards, which is pretty good. I mean, I don't know how many people have rolled a watermelon 100 yards. But I got out there and so I made a whole thing about it, lined it up like I was on the PGA, and I rolled this thing and it's going, it keeps going, and it's at like a couple hundred yards. It hits the dog leg and starts kind of curving, and it's like, we're like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. We're rolling a video of the entire thing, and it like even it starts bouncing, it's getting, we're just freaking out on this thing, and it almost gets up on the green, like around, impossibly almost by the green. So that was pretty funny, you know. So we put it on the internet, and it did well. I think it was a couple 100,000 in almost every place that we put it. So we heard pretty quickly that the marketing folks were super thrilled with that sort of idea of bowling a watermelon down the fairway. Pretty harmless, but they didn't like it until a week after, when they saw the response from people in their tee sheet. They'd seen that golf course, seen the view. Although there was a watermelon rolling down, it's funny, entertaining. They saw the golf course and wanted to come play there. And they still, to this day, they think they pick all the watermelons down so people don't do it, but people were doing that watermelon roll thing. So it's kind of a funny thing, you know. It's no Perez plaque, which would be like a body outline, I'm thinking. So it's things like that kind of, you never know when those are going to hit. And if you've got people that are having fun, enjoying your golf course, stories like that make it approachable, fun. Somebody sees that and they think, oh, maybe my next trip is going to be to this golf course. And then along with that, I delivered them 75 great images from my trip. So it was a nice little package for them. And they forgave me for the watermelon bowling incident. But
I have to imagine somebody showed up for the very next week and was looking for a watermelon.
yeah, there was a patch of them that was just growing naturally. I think they were all used up pretty quickly.
So, you know, Gaylord, this is a great opportunity. You know, what operational benefits did you see from having this creator partnership with Random Golf Club? I mean, they told a fantastic story. If you haven't seen the story that Eric Anders Lang did on Northwood, it was remarkable. I mean, I felt like I was watching a Nat Geo special on Northwood.
You're being kind.
Oh, for sure. But no, to me, it was great. And I haven't had the opportunity to go up there, but when you see the redwoods and you hear the Alistair McKenzie story, you and your family have owned the facility for how long?
Well, the course has been there since 1928.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing a big deal around our centennial, which will be some videos and whatnot. But we've owned it since 1970. So we've had it over half of its life.
Right.
Starting with my father, and then me and my son.
And it has a pretty regional following, I would imagine, but...
Well, we're an hour and a half from the San Francisco Bay Area, but we get people from all over. So what Eric did is he sold this video to United Airlines. And United Airlines put it on the little video. So when you fly from Chicago to San Francisco, that's one of the choices that you see. And we have people that will come in the shop and they'll go, hey, you're the guy in the video. I just saw you at United Airlines. So it's like the light goes on. You know, it's clicking. It's working for us because it's great. But I have to tell one story, if I can, about this gal named Stephanie Gilbert, who was maybe one of the first female in the area that was an influencer. And she came out, and she's in her 20s, and she's with her friend, and she's in her 20s, and they play the course. And it's, you know, how women in their 20s would talk to each other, you know, you're a rock star, you're a good shot, you're a rock star. So they get to the ninth hole, and Stephanie asks her friend, do you have any questions before we finish? She says, well, how can I get on the course? And so then Stephanie says, well, it's accessible, it's really close to the area and all this. And then she kind of stops and she says, I know I'm romanticizing this course, but it's just je ne sais quoi. And it's like, and I hear that and I'm going, man, she just hit the nail on the head. Because in French, je ne sais quoi is, I know what it is, but I don't know what it is. It's just a vibe or a feeling. And I think that's the kind of thing that you want to create in your content. And then you have to realize that once this gets out there and people are reacting to it and they're acting positively, it really raises the bar at your facility because now there are expectations that have been raised that you have to fulfill on. And that's really the key is that, what did I just tell them? What are people what are those expectations going to be when they come in? And you're going to have to revise possibly your procedure in order to accommodate that, so.
I think that's, you just hit the nail on the head. There's two ways for everyone to benefit from this. You're either gonna have a video like Gaylord did with Eric, and over time, it's gonna keep reaching further and further places, and that's gonna give you a longevity of just new business that you don't expect. And then you can work with Bob Does Sports, and it's gonna do 1 million views in 24 hours. And within 2 weeks, you might say, next Tuesday looks light, and a week goes by, and out of nowhere, you picked up 40 rounds. And someone's gonna walk in your golf shop and say, what hole is that Perez laying down on, right? I was in the bar one day, probably, 6 weeks after the Barstool video dropped, and we had a staffing shortage, so I went down to the restaurant to help out, and these 12 guys walked in, probably somewhere between 26 and 38, and they looked at me and they're like, is this the golf course where Barstool Sports and Bob Does Sports played? And I was like, yeah. Where are you guys from? I'm like, oh, we were staying at Pebble. My buddy pulled the video up last night. None of us saw it pop up. We were supposed to leave today. We extended our stay one more night. We decided we're coming over and playing, right? And I can tell you firsthand, and my boss is in the room, I use that all the time, all the time. Like that is our goal. I want everybody who comes to Pebble Beach to just stay an extra night and get out the gates and come experience us, right? And I think that that's a message that in any market can be replicated, and you have the ability to take this content and use it whenever, however you want, right? And it's so unique. I didn't know that Eric sold that to United Airlines. And to me, that makes him so much more the genius that he is.
I didn't know either until I saw a picture of him teeing off at a United Airlines hangar.
So, I want to kind of shift the conversation slightly, and Abby, Fried Egg does these wonderful experiences, right? And I don't know the answer to this question, so I'm kind of asking it blindly, but how often are you, or maybe you're not, seeking the assistance of content creators to really expose maybe the events of what you're doing? Maybe you did that at the beginning to grow it. I mean, to me, it sounds like it's scaled quite a bit, so that's good, right? But I'm curious, I'm super interested in the concept of having Friday come out and do this experience and hopefully bring us golfers that have never been there. We might get the benefit in the short-term interim, but the long-term that comes from that is huge.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of we have our eyes on some plate. Well, and this is the other part of it. So we're playing Lookout Mountain in May. And we're doing, similar to you, we are adding more rounds. Don't just come to Lookout Mountain, also come to Sweetens Cove with us or anywhere else in the area. We probably have like 3 rounds surrounding the main event. And I think that we haven't created content from all of those places. And I think that's the benefit of the space being so big is people are hearing about all of these other golf courses in the area because of other content creators. It's not just us, it's Bob Does Sports, it's Patrick, it's all of the Golfer's Journal, it's all of these content creators that are, they want to tell stories, and how can we all benefit from everything that's out there?
Right.
Of course, we want to create more content, people to come to our channels for things, but we're very aware, people are excited about this golf course because so-and-so told a story about it, and it was really good, and it was in a podcast, doesn't always have to be video.
Right.
So I think hopefully that helps answer
Yeah,
your
no, for
question.
sure. I think what you're ultimately saying is, in the end, media is becoming the new marketing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we're in this day and age where golf's at this really positive intersection where we have a very wide demographic, right? And I think a lot of people are used to having cell phones these days and looking at social media and the way content's being created. Gone are the days where you can just walk out to your first tee at 7 a.m., the sun is rising, take a picture and post it, and within 2 weeks you think you're going to get someone to come play golf because of it. Why? Because people like this are creating these awesome experiences. And if you're not taking advantage of hosting an experience or hosting a content creator, hosting a golf course photographer, you won't, you're kind of, in my eyes, we're a little behind, right? And that's where, I think one thing that I'm taking away is we haven't hosted an experience, right? So I want to talk to you guys about hosting an experience, and if we need to get other golf courses in the Monterey area to get involved, we can get them involved.
Right. Well, that's why I love Gaylord's story about the female golf influencer that came out in like shot content, because that's like a whole other group of people. And she probably has a lot of female followers too who probably play golf, and they're like, oh, that place is super welcoming to a golfer of my level. Like maybe I don't know how good of a golfer she is, but I would say female golfers like tend to seek where other female golfers are playing, because they're like, well, if they're welcoming to this group of people, like then I feel comfortable going there too. So it's all about just like seeing yourself in the content.
Right, right. FP, so how can this group, you know, I think as of where you guys are today, maybe isn't the best example, but let's go back 3-4 years when you needed a golf course, maybe more so than the golf course realized they needed you. How can these folks, you know, leverage a group, maybe not like you, but how can they support themselves to find groups like you who aren't after the money and are generating content to build their brand, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a valuable asset to have. You know, if you can snag it, I think. You know, for us, we field a lot of inbound stuff. We may see comments on posts or get direct messages on Instagram or emails. So that's probably the most direct way to reach out. But, you know, I would look at what's going on in your area. Are there any, you know, up and coming content creators in your city or your region that are making fun videos? Maybe they're not the biggest stars yet, but they're putting out a decent production that's going to have your golf course name on it. I mean, to me, it's all, as she mentioned, you know, the time. It's not just this year, it's in 3 years. Like someone's going to go online, like, hey, I've heard of this place. Like, I'm going to type this into YouTube. And it's going to, whatever pops up. And the most, you know, the ability to control that, which I think in the past is probably your own marketing material and video and voiceover and that type of thing. And I think people want a little bit more of the organic, you know, boots on the ground, let me see this being played. I think, you know, in our space, drone video is becoming much more the norm, which I think always highlights a golf course in a cool way, given a perspective that you wouldn't have standing on the ground, and I think always looks better. But yeah, I think, you know, I would imagine, you know, local golf associations, either in the state or citywide, you know, I think if a club reaches out or a course reaches out with the willingness, and that's communicated up that chain, there may be some bigger connections, or another course got somebody and they can pass that information along. I mean, it's a little bit different for us now. You know, it's much more inbound, but we always want, you know, a unique place, a place that's really going to look well on camera, or look good on camera, and really, again, back to the ease of just like, if you can tell us exactly what we're going to get and how it's going to run, and you know, and take out questions. I mean, the fewer questions we have back to you, the more willing we can just say yes to what you've reached out and said, the better chance we have of coming.
Yeah, I think two things you said there that really resonate are, you know, if you're looking for content creators and you're struggling to make that connection, don't be afraid to just start reaching out. It's kind of one of those things where you can't ask too many people. At the end of the day, they all work together. And the example is last night when Eric canceled, I called 4 different people. I told him last night when I texted him, I'll take the camera guy. I'll take anybody, right? And so there are many people out there that maybe there's an influencer who responds to you who can't play your golf course, but ask them, hey, is there anybody else you'd recommend that could come and support us and help us, and we can help them? At the end of the day, I think there are more influencers out there who need us, the golf courses, than maybe the golf courses need them. There are a select few groups that we all want. We all can't have them. There are far too many golf courses and not enough days in the year to get them. And at the end of the day, these guys are operating a business. And that's kind of the sticky part.
Yeah, and spirals too. I remember, it's funny you mentioned Stephanie at Northwood, because I remember having a conversation with her, and she saw the photograph I took of Northwood during my visit, and I was like, you gotta go there. So obviously that's where she came to your place. So it definitely is, you know, we all work together. We love to share the places. And one of the things that I remember is I have a previous life, much like Perez was an accountant. I was a sales guy. And so I would reach out to Fortune 1,000 companies in the Bay Area. And my job was to get meetings with executives, which is difficult to do. And one of the things that my policy that I abided by was that I'm gonna give some value 5 times to this executive before he's gonna potentially respond to me. Most salespeople give up after 2 or 3, but I found that people started responding around 5. I could get a CIO to sit down with me for 10, 15 minutes, but I had to add value 5 times in a row. And the way that I bring that to this conversation is that, maybe you see a photograph from me, maybe you see a video from the Bob Does Sports guys. And maybe you don't decide to go play that golf course or book your trip, but by the time you get to that 5th influencer or touch point, you're at the point of like, I gotta play this place, everybody's playing it. So that's something to think about when it comes to making that investment, is that it's out there and it matters, but it might not go to a decision point until you get to that critical 5th touch or whatever it is. So I like to think of that when people are devising your marketing strategy, is that don't put all your eggs in one basket. Talk to a lot of different people, and when somebody comes out, maybe somebody else will see it and say, hey, maybe we should go to that place. So it might spiral from another influencer or creator coming out, or somebody booking a golf trip to your golf course.
I also have to add, pay attention to social media. The only reason why I got Barstool Sports and Bob Does Sports is Rig put out a tweet that said he was looking for a golf course in Northern California to film a 4-man scramble. And I was sitting in a marketing meeting, and our marketing coordinator screenshotted it and teamed it to me. And I went, oh my God. And I immediately went to the tweet, responded to it, and Riggs DM'd me that night. And the next thing you know, within 5 days, I had all of them on the golf course. And you know what? I quickly realized, at the time, I felt like they needed me more than I needed them, but I really quickly realized I needed them more than they needed me. And so we put them up, we have a hotel, we put them up in rooms, we had dinner the night before, Joey Pocut sang. I mean, the content that was being created, and in that video, Bob was down and out. He was sick the night before from food poisoning from Taco Bell. And he was so upset. And the next morning, Perez was in the weeds because he had too much fun the night before. Sorry, guys.
If you're kind of sick, yeah.
But, I think, I have to imagine some of you are thinking, like, how do I regain control? Right? How do I retain control? Because some of this stuff is edgy. And I'm not a fan of it. I'm not afraid of edgy, right? It's about working with you guys, right? I mean, when we brought them back on 2 separate occasions, and the first time we brought them back, I kind of just let them do their thing. I gave them the golf course, a block tee sheet for 6 hours because I knew at some point someone would catch them, and it was just less friction for me to let them do their thing and retain the benefit long term. And they did their thing, and I just made sure that there was a couple certain shout outs and a certain hole was filmed a certain way. But I had very minimal requests. The second time, my marketing manager was like, you need to play with them. Like, we need a video with you in it. And I was like, okay, well, that's going to be a fun ask. And I called Perez because I knew he'd answer first, but I also knew that he would be open to the idea. And it ended up being Bob and Bob versus Joey and FP. And it was one of the most, nerve-wracking things I've ever done. But after the first hole, it was awesome. Right? And what comes of that, when people can come to your golf course and put your face to a video and the content, and what your team can do with that content is amazing. I tell my team all the time, they were very generous to me on my first tee shot. I pulled hook one left. It was OB, and they put the shot tracer right down the right side. And then we go to Bob's ball. It's Bob's ball. It's clearly Bob's ball, right? And
Magic Hollywood.
And Bob chunks the shot, literally lays the sod over it, and I block one right into a bunker. And Joey says they're screwed because Bob can't hit a bunker shot to save his life, right? And I put one up to probably like 8 feet. They had a putt that they missed, and we made the putt, we ended up tying the hole. And after we made that putt, I was like, we can do this. The next hole, made a 40-foot birdie. Bob told me driving down there, he's like, don't be afraid to be a little outgoing. And I made that birdie, and I went, boom, quaillodge.com, look us up.
Sure did.
And Bob looks at the camera and goes, if you're not booking Quail Lodge now, you're never going to book it. And I'll tell you right now, we have 7 different forms that we can use that at any point we want to. And we're very strategic now with how we may use that. I won't lie, I'm going to do a shameless plug for a quick second. We want you back, so when you guys are back in California, your home is waiting.
It's long.
But I think one thing to take away We're gonna get to questions. I hope somebody has some questions here in a second. I think one thing to take away in Gaylord, I'd like you to maybe touch on this is, there is so much long-term, differential benefits that can come from these things, right? Right now, you've done, I think, a lot, from what I can tell, and I haven't done a ton of research, but you've done a lot of storytelling, a lot of things that really attract people to a region, to a specific golf course. But I think you're at a point where you can probably start to do some of this content creator stuff. And I'd kind of like to hear, where you felt the difference. And I have to imagine your T-sheet, rounds on your T-sheet picked up.
Well, it changes what you can charge. Definitely you can raise your prices because there's more demand. Because now you've established yourself as a place. You're on their bucket list. That's where you want to be, the customer. And they'll come in a lot and they'll say, this is my bucket list course. I just played Pebble. I'm playing your course and I'm on my way to Bandon Dunes. Kind of thing. It's like, it changes to your demographic, depending on how you approach the demographic. Like in this case, are you looking for young professional females? In our area, there's more growth in Hispanics playing golf. So we definitely don't want to leave them out. It changes your demographic. You can charge more, and it raises the bar. The thing is, I think your question is, where do you go from here? And my answer is, I don't know, but I'm really thinking about it. And we try to do something unique annually that we can put out there. Sometimes it flops. We're located next to Bohemian Grove. I don't know if you know the Bohemian Club and all the rich and famous that go there in July. But Jimmy Buffett was one of the members of the Bohemian Club, and he came out and played our course. And then a year later, he passed away. So we had these carved redwood owls that we put around just for decorations. And so I asked the carver, I said, can you do a parrot? And he said, oh, I do great parrots. So I got a guy to make a metal piece, a nest, and we put this parrot up there, and we just shined it towards the Bohemian Grove. And that was it. We didn't do anything. But people would come in and they would say, what the hell is that parrot doing out there with all those owls? And then it opened up a chance to tell the story. And so if you can put little tidbits out there that relate to a story that you want to tell about your course, the customer will come in and they'll mention that. So the influencer, there's two ways to do it. You can pay them for content, and you can have the content, I guess, you buy it, or you can let them go out and do it. They kind of create the content, but they own the content. So I think you want to figure out where you want to be on that spectrum. With us, we let them go out and do it. They own the content. We got the benefit, but we don't have total control over the product.
Yeah, and I think one thing you said is you just have to find what makes your club tick. What is it about your club that makes it tick in your region? Because, simply put up a parrot, it makes you tick. It makes people talk about something, right? I can tell you one thing that is, we're very fortunate. We have a Rolex clock, and it's because we do this really world-renowned car show, and we have partners with Rolex. You can't buy a Rolex clock. You have to be brand partners with Rolex in some form or fashion. And that is a constant photography opportunity for golfers at our golf course. They're always taking pictures in front of the Rolex clock. And you walk up there and everyone goes, how the heck do you have a Rolex clock? I didn't know at first sight. We have this other event that has a partnership, and we're fortunate we were able to leverage that and take advantage of it. Anybody have any questions? Absolutely, go ahead. Nothing's off the table, right here.
Okay, and just in chasing aces, we're a pretty media-driven par three. Like all of our tee boxes have cameras, so we can get people their tee shots. Our first tee box is set up to live stream in real time, and we want our staff to have media as part of their responsibility. So you've got 1 hour for inventory, 2 hours for staff repair, 2 hours for content creation in your schedule. So what do you look for when you're managing a large team of people making content beyond a great personality, media training wise? Like how would you get such a diverse, like bartenders and servers and pros kind of be working towards one brand umbrella of media? Do you have any tips for what they should present?
Abby, I feel like maybe this is a good one.
I feel like you would have a lot, because you guys also work in like, you have a group of people that you're curating together to create content. You guys all kind of fall under the same brand umbrella.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's probably establishing like the tone, like the, you know, do you want to lean more into humor, or are you looking more on the education side of things? It's some hybrid, and just sort of, or maybe one of your staff members makes a video and you're like, that's exactly the type of thing we're going for, and then educate the rest of the staff of like, hey, let's, you know, everyone's going to have their own personality, but this is sort of the cadence, the time, and the tone of what we're looking for. I've always thought that was like a really good idea. I see a lot of like, this is so random, but like my buddy's got a wine bar in Scottsdale, and the bartenders make kind of like little TikToks and things. And he's like, how do we get him to do more? I was like, well, you can pay him. Give him, you know, $20 a TikTok, or, you know, every 1,000 views is a bonus or something like that. So maybe you can figure out some sort of structure where, you know, not only is the type of content and the tone of it correct, but what is their motivation to really put full effort into it? And, you know, am I going to see any difference whether this video I put out gets 100 views or 100,000 views, right? Obviously, it's something you guys can celebrate as a facility, but, you know, what motivates the rest of the staff members to go out and beat that video, right? Maybe there's a, you know, the most, whoever gets the video with the most views a month gets something, right? You know, figure out what that can be based on your marketing budget. But I think it's a fun idea. I've never heard of that before.
I know, it's so cool.
That's really awesome, especially the live stream part. You know, maybe add some two-way audio where you can chirp people online. Just get going there.
Well, and you could also say, hey, we're going to do some like staff competition. You're making up some major tournament for the staff. And if you win that, maybe there's different like areas to win, like you literally win the golf tournament, or you win because you had the most views on your video. So you're kind of allowing people who have different strengths, like that guy's really good at golf, this girl has a big personality, this person was able to promote something that we're really trying to push. And then I guess my other suggestion would be like, there are certain brands outside of golf that do this really well, like Starbucks incentivizes their baristas when they like come up with fun drinks and they like capture the content doing it. Walmart does a really good job. They like encourage their staff to, you know, within brand and, you know, safety parameters, they like encourage them to create content. So I think also like looking outside of golf and just seeing like what are some other brands doing. But super cool facility. I want to come.
I think it's also the other thing I'm thinking too. It's like anything that gets people out to your golf course is what you want, right? So, you know, you move it not just from I see these holes or I know the live stream. It's like I know that person, right? Like people consume that content, and you know they might not just go out to shake someone's hand, but just the familiarity of a familiar face that they've seen online when they go out there might be another reason to go to your spot instead of going to, you know, Top Golf or Putt Putt or whatever, or a full golf course if you don't have the time. So I think that's another thing, is you're cultivating a holistic experience, not just the golf course and the tee time.
That's great. Does that help? Awesome. Any other questions? Yeah, Harvey.
Hey, Bobby, thank you. You're professional content creators, which is terrific. Your production values are top-notch. You know, that you mentioned, hey, that's kind of like Hollywood. That's great. But what happens? What do golf courses, can they exert any control over these amateur influencers who may not have good production values, who may do some stupid things that they think are funny, like the guys who say, hey, we're on our six-pack and we're only on the third hole. You know, or there's a guy that's climbed on the back of the cart and he's riding along and they think it's fun, they're bouncing along and stuff. That stuff gets put up on YouTube or Insta or whatever, and it can have a negative impact or a negative image of the golf course that the golf course has no control over. They don't even know those guys were out there until this pops up and suddenly it's got 180,000 views.
FP, you want to touch that? I have a really simple answer, but from your perspective.
Oh, I mean, we try very hard not to do that.
Well, I know that's you. You're a professional. So I'm talking about these amateurs, the guys that just show up as a foursome.
It's tough. I mean, you know, especially if someone's just using a camera and phone camera. Phone cameras are so good these days that, you know, It used to be you wanted to capture something you were going to put online, you'd be able to tell if someone was bringing out equipment to do so. But they're getting to the point where they are so good. I mean, yeah, it's tough because you don't want to stop the good content by creating some sort of policy at the pro shop desk that says no filming unless authorized. I mean, that's the short answer, but that kind of creates a tone that may not be what you're looking for. So I'm interested in Bobby's take as an operator of how you stop guys like us.
It's two things. You have to first understand how you're working with that content creator. When I work with them, I speak to their producer. So if the content creator has a producer, you're probably in really good hands because that producer, his ass is on the line when it comes down to it. The second thing is, we work with a branding agency, and they supply us every month. They get a list of influencers, and I go through and I'll say yes, no, yes, no. And when we start the conversation with the influencer, if they don't have a producer, I supply that person a contract. They sign a contract. In that contract, the two most important things in that contract are, I have last say on all content that goes out. If it's going to put my brand in a hole, no, we're not doing that, right?
Right, but Bobby, I'm talking about the wannabe influencers.
No, I understand. Every wannabe influencer, I get emails all the time. I got messages on LinkedIn from people that say, hey, I'm in your area, I'm an up and coming influencer, I'd love the opportunity to play the golf course. I'll have just an iPhone and a tripod, can I do it? The short answer is, if I'm gonna say yes, I'm also gonna make them sign a contract. I mean, you have to have that level of control over it. Unfortunately, to counter FP's point, we do have a no filming policy when it comes to having cameras and tripod equipment. If I see a tripod on the first tee, my staff's out there telling them, put it away. You're not here to film content, you're here to play golf. If you want to film content, reach out to our marketing team. Taking a video on your phone, I mean, you cannot control mass media these days. Anytime something good happens in the world, phones come out first. You see it at PGA Tour events all the time. So there's very little control these days on someone just hand-holding an iPhone and doing things. But when it comes to content creators who are looking to you to give them something because they need you, you just have to do the right thing and make that decision to hold them accountable. And unfortunately these days, especially in California, I'll tell you right now, contract. It's the only thing that's gonna save you, because if they post something that you don't like and it breaches the contract, legally you can take a step to have it removed. Otherwise, you're just pleading with them to remove it. And I'll tell you right now, if it's somebody who's hungry and it's like wants to be the next Bob Does Sports, they're gonna disappear into the ether and that video is gonna live. And so there are little controls, very few controls, but I would tell you from my experience, contract is the best thing. And if you don't have experience with that, there are people out there who can help you do that. I'm happy to share some of the T's and C's that we put into it, because I've had it once, not at my current club. I've had it once where a guy came out and filmed a video. It got to the ninth hole, and the ninth hole is on the water. And we have this really big sign, 5 feet tall, 4 feet wide. It says, "Please do not hit any balls towards the ocean," because there's a beach below. And this guy thought it would be really funny if all 4 of his buddies set up balls. And it was a par 3 golf course, so no reason to have a driver. They all had drivers in their hand. And they thought it'd be really funny to hit balls and try to reach the ocean. Well, one of those balls landed 3 feet from a 4-year-old, right? And they posted it, and they're laughing, and all of a sudden, within 2 days, those comments turned south, right? Our marketing team reaches out politely, asks them to take it down because of what it's doing. They thought it was too funny to take down. Well, the next thing, they got a phone call from our lawyer. And I'll tell you right now, any up-and-coming content creator that gets a phone call from a lawyer, they get really scared really fast.
One other question to follow up to FP and Abby. When you're doing a content for a golf course, you've reached an agreement, they know you're out there, they know what you're going to do. Does the golf course get right of first refusal on editing functions where they say, hey, look, you're showing a house I don't really want to see, that the neighbor's going to freak out if he sees us on the video, or something like that, where the golf course has that last say on what that content contains?
Yeah, I would say that it's up to the golf course on the front end. I think we would probably, just speaking personally from our channel, we would probably lean into, let's figure out what are your potential issues on the front end before we film. Our guys are not don't really have a huge appetite for edits coming from the outside. So yeah, we try very hard. We're never going to ignore, like, that doesn't benefit us. We want the relationship to stay good and everybody to win. But, you know, there's also timelines. Like, it might seem like a small edit to you, but it might be a massive edit for them, and we need to get a video out in 2 days. So yeah, I think the communication on the front end about parameters of what you want, what you don't want, what can be shown, what can't be shown, that's going to affect our, you know, we'll deal with that in the real time. It's a lot harder to deal with it on the back. There might be a shot that is so pivotal that just shows the house, like you said, in the background. If we knew we didn't need to get the house, we'd have got a different angle, but we don't have it. And like, maybe the ball went in the hole, maybe it's an eagle. Like, I don't know what do we do with that.
I'll just add, our match ended in the closest to the pin on the 17th hole. He hit it really close. I laid the sod over 9. You think I want that out there? Laying the sod over a ball to decide the match? No, I don't.
Yeah, Bobby said no bad shots in the front end. We said we simply can't do that. That's up to you.
I just said, can we do this one more time? No. And at the end of the day, it didn't matter. It was good. I mean, it works out for you. I think one thing to touch on, Harvey, is when you're dealing with people as big as Bob Does Sports is, those little things are less important because the reach is so big that the positive outweighs the negative. When you're dealing with the smaller creators, to your point, that's where you really have to make a smart decision, and that's a tough decision to make. And at the end of the day, it is your business, and if you think it's not the right decision, I support you going the right way with it. But don't stop. Don't stop trying to find that.
Yeah, I would just say that, you know, you can't, some of the stuff you're not going to be able to control. But if you do have a strong brand image, it's going to drown out that, you know, the hitting the balls into the ocean, almost hitting babies. You know, your brand will override if you're fully invested and you're getting those, you know, people understand what it's about and they'll see how this is just those guys.
I think we got time for one more.
All right, great. Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Awesome panel, super valuable for us. Rob Stiefel with Gaylord Golf Club, actually the world's first, or North America's first moat hole. And just to comment, Abby, you guys did a video 7 years ago on the moat hole. So to your point of still getting mileage out of it, we use it all the time on YouTube and getting a lot of good traffic. So we are doing something called Jam on the Mountain. We're gonna have DJs out on the course and do this big event, working with Jason Kelsey's charity. So Pat Perez, you'd be perfect for it. My question is, you know, how do you take like a big event like that and a successful video and convert that to followers? Because it seems like that's often a disconnect. That, you know, maybe it's consistent content, but just curious on your guys' views of, you know, how can you convert that to, you know, consistent followers for your course that you can market to?
I think you kind of answered it a little bit yourself in the question. You do have to be consistent. Like if you really want to own your club's channel, your golf course's channel, it can't just be like a one-time thing. So if Bob Does Sports comes, or the Fried Egg, or Good, any of these places come, like yes, they're going to create that like hero piece of content for you that can live on your website or somewhere else. But at the end of the day, if you want that to continue, you do have to continue creating content. And I know that's hard too with resources and like, do you have a staff member dedicated to doing that? But I'm sure Bobby has some recommendations too on like people who are good at creating content that's owned for your golf course.
I think we all agree that people are the biggest investment we can make
Sure.
in our facilities. Go out and find yourself a marketing professional or a content professional who can help you leverage the assets you have and where you're trying to go. We have a great team. They're extremely creative. You know, we don't always agree on things, but at the end of the day, you're taking content that you have and you roll with it. I mean, we're in the process. I've asked our team to take, we have probably about 12 to 14 videos between Bob Does Sports, the foreplay scramble video, and I want to create this collage of a video that only highlights the best moments of social content at Quail, right? It's going to be a big project, but it can turn around and have some really big benefits in the end.
So I'd like to say one thing to that. So you're going to post content, and people are going to see the content, and they're going to respond to it, right? They're going to comment. And you really want to pay attention to those comments because they're going to tell you if your content's, you know, connecting with them. If it's not, then you probably want to go back to the drawing board. But don't be afraid to look at what the comments are that people are saying about you. Because they're seeing this, it's touching their heart or it's not, and that's where you really want to pay attention.
Yeah, and don't be afraid, don't take the comments too seriously, because I tell you, I got ripped. Ripped. All right, so I want to thank you guys, thank you so much. This has been awesome.
I think in the spirit of social media, we should do like a little selfie.
You want to do a selfie?
Facing backwards.
Okay, for sure. You guys want to take a selfie with them? All right. I think we should go down. Oh,
We got it?
We're like notes.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, go to the PGA show, everyone.